Hello once again everyone, and welcome back to Getting More Out of Capoferro. It has been a very long time since I was doing this series, but I want to try and finally finish it. We've only got a few more plates to go, and joining me once again is Jacob. So today we're going to be talking about plate number 15, how to find the sword or gain your opponent's sword, and the actions therein. Now before we get into the actual plays, there's some very useful bit in the preamble that is worth considering, which is the discussion of when you find the sword, exactly where to point, and how to go from things on that line. So, one step over to it. Alright, cool. So, my opponent's sword is extended, and that's the only reason I should be trying and find the sword, because if he's got his arm down, you can just fire a lunge right at this. But he's got his arm extended, so I have to deal with it. If I am going to find the sword, I get about one palmo's worth, so about here, and I should, from the inside, be pointing toward his left shoulder. On the outside, I'm pointing toward his right shoulder. And in general, the positions here can be kind of a guardia vista, which we'll talk about if we ever do Getting More Out of Alfieri, or alternatively, terza, essentially, but kind of between terza and secunda if I'm going on this side. Should he try to do anything in the midst of this, because as we know, you put your sword out there, what's the most immediate thing you're going to do? If he tries cavazione, I should come to cavazione while advancing to gain that range, be able to hit him almost immediately. I'm moving from long range kind of into my close range. And this is one that you got to be bold with, because a lot of people cavazione kind of pointlessly, so you can make this happen very easily. Gain, boom, just that quick. Likewise on the other side, same exact idea. So gain, boom, and I like to do that one a lot. Alternatively, if you don't want to refine the sword, because then he could do a contra cavazione, you instead strike in the moment of his cavazione, and this has a rather sweet setup going from one direction to the other. So I gain to the inside, beat cavazione, I hit in the moment of that secunda. I was a little late, I'll do it again. So, fine, boom, just immediately into my secunda. Alternatively, if I'm gaining from outside in, I like this one a lot because of how it sets up on the dominant side. So, I gain, boom, that's a fantastic shot. I very rarely don't at least punch through their guard with that particular action because you're uncurling. So, that's discussed in the preamble, very useful to know. And then there is also the idea of if someone tries to find your sword, what should you do? So my sword is out parallel to the ground, and he attempts to find the sword. I should cavazione and then regain his sword while I move forward. So basically, anytime someone tries to do something, go for them back immediately. So if he tries to find, fine, that sets me up to then do all my subsequent action. You're looking for overbinds essentially, and that's true on both sides. Now, getting into the actual actions of plate 15 is where we get things that are rather interesting, and this is all passing footwork for once. So we talked about the pass recently. We're going to talk about the pass a little bit more. Essentially, the idea here is because of where we end up and that we're maintaining contact, while a lunge will absolutely still be sufficient, lunges give him more opportunity to parry. A passing step, once you've gained the sword, you are going to control that sword. However, you're much more vulnerable to someone being able to wound you on the low line. So we'll talk about that as we go through it. Another step forward. So, the idea here is that I approach him from cavazione, so I put my sword out, he finds it. I'm going to, from cavazione, gain the sword. I move my left hand down closer to my right to make sure he can't shoot over. I bend my body more to my right side, so I'm putting kind of all my eggs in one basket. I'm going to pass forward strong, lock everything down. This ensures, as long as he stays in that line, he won't be able to either reach around with the secunda, push through with some sort of counter thrust into quarta, or parry my blow. Everything's going basically from here in. And this is kind of like a rotella sort of action, which I like a lot. So here's that again, and this is from cavazione, not initially. If initially I find the sword, I should just lunge. If initially he finds the sword, then I should do my action that we already discussed. This though, from cavazione, I'm gaining the sword. So I'm out, he finds my sword, get it strong, bend down to your right side, have that hand come up close, then punch. Just that strong. I'll do one more of those kind of fluidly, and then we'll talk about the other side. So swords out, in, boom. And you always kind of hit that same target over and over and over again. Now, alternatively, your other option is to do it on the opposite side. Very simple, same sort of idea. So, I am here, he gains the sword to the inside, cavazione, bend your body down to your left side, keep your left hand where it is, and I'm going to pass forward and strike with a secunda thrust. This one I find is also very, very useful against left-handers. I'll show that again in a minute, though. Let's change sides for a better view of this. So, my sword is out, he finds it to the inside. Cavazione while you do your little advance. bend your body down to your left, then you're going to just punch forward. There's a good thrust. The reason I say this is useful against left-handers, could you switch to being left-handed? Thank you. Is that most left-handers are used to being strong on this side. So anytime you're here, they're going to be attacking. So what a lot of them like to do, because they're playing off of your actions against a right-hander, is they'll find toward the outside to get you to cavazione, not realizing you've just set yourself up into their dominant action. So from here, if you can be confident and they find pass, this is a great way to lock them down. Because even if Jacob tries to counter thrust while I do that pass, I've got more in my basket than he does. So he finds, and he's going to try and counter thrust when I cavazione back at him. I've just got a better shape. And should I miss, we end up here. He's going to try and get his tip out of my face, right? You've got a lovely cut set up, or you can seek other low targets. So it's just a really good one to do. But as far as plate number 15 is concerned, that's it. Nothing too crazy. Just find strike with a pass because you've got them locked down. And that's really the place you should start looking for firing your passing steps, at least initially, is do them when you have good blade control and it's safe to step forward. If I'm not, if there's in any way any sort of playback, then the lunge is the more conservative option and I'm safer, because I should point out, even if I do everything perfect, I find a sword, I bend my body, and I try to punch through, but he flits between and underneath us, right? I can't stop this. A lunge, if he should flit, I can stop, pull back, or guard. You just can't do that with a passing step unless you have an offhand weapon. So it is a little bit more committed. But if you do have them locked, it's a very safe way to get an easy touch, and you're very safe in doing so. So, thank you very much, Jacob. Thank you all very much for watching. I'm going to try and knock out the last few plates. We've only got there's only a total of 20. We're on 15, so we've only got a few more to go, and then we'll be done with the sword alone, and then we'll let this rest for a while. So hopefully we're finishing that up within a couple of months. But otherwise, though, thank you very, very much for watching. We'll go over some other techniques another time.